Forgive me, John. I've failed to prepare any Christmas music, or perhaps in this case, we should have some CIA music. Pretty stunning information that's been coming out from the Twitter files and all these other things that are informing us about the insane activities of our beloved intelligence agencies. How are you tonight, John?
I'm very well, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, I've just published this big expose that I really think, John, it's one of the best things I've ever done. We can talk about it a bit more when see, now there's this weird new thing happening with my switcher that I don't understand well, but we'll make it work. We'll talk about it in depth when we get on to subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We're also going to be talking today quite a bit about Odyssey. Odyssey, John, is a great way for people to, follow some of the legacy content. They can also become members now. I don't know if you've activated this yet. I definitely encourage you to, but people who are following Crowdsource the Truth on Odyssey can tap on this membership tab and become members for as low as $4 a month, plus a small Odyssey fee. You can watch our simulcasts of the live streams right here on Odyssey. That's disappointing. Why is it not running? I must have done something wrong. I hope that will... Oh, there it is. Just refresh and it's playing. But John, you have got some content on Odyssey that I think is very important for people to be aware of if they haven't seen it yet. What are we going to be talking about tonight?
Yeah, so to make sure people understand that the patron-only content that I have, I don't have that on Odyssey. The stuff I have on Odyssey is the stuff that I've published to YouTube, so it's kind of like a mirror of my YouTube channel.
But a lot of that's been deleted, hasn't it, by YouTube?
Right. So that's what makes the Odyssey stuff interesting, is that some of the videos were taken down by YouTube or were taken down by me out of fear that they were going to get in trouble and get strikes. But Odyssey has almost everything I've published, I think. So if you go to Odyssey and you search for I Am John Cullen, you should be able to find well over 300, 400 videos.
That's
on
great.
Both the Las Vegas shooting and the pandemics.
Yeah, and the search function on Odyssey is, I think, much better than YouTube, certainly better than Rumble. The other thing that's really strange is, for reasons that I can't exactly identify, the stupid Mario brothers hate Odyssey, have been trying to, shut it down unsuccessfully. But whatever it is that they hate about it, I like it. I have to presume that Odyssey might be outside of the control of some of these intelligence agencies. Or let me rephrase that. Odyssey is a startup, and it's a blockchain-based thing that perhaps they haven't infiltrated in the way that they have Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. And John, you and I have been observing things, evidence in the public domain, that's caused us to believe that this was happening for a long, long time. But now we have evidence from the new owner of Twitter in the form of email communications and all kinds of things that could be court admissible evidence. You and I speculating about things we observe with videos being taken down and low view counts and stuff. A judge would laugh that out of court. And actually, it's essentially happened already. But emails between Elvis Chan and Yoel Roth talking about delete this person, 80 agents on staff, FBI reimbursing Twitter for using so much of their time. This is insane stuff. We've never heard anything like this before.
And it begs the question, what are the most egregious bodies of work that these guys are worried about? What are they worried that the public is going to find out? That they're running to Facebook, they're running to Twitter, and they're reimbursing them for the meals and for their conference rooms and for whatever the hell, $3.5 million bucks. That's a lot of reimbursement, right? That's a lot.
It's a hell of an expense report.
$3.5 million. So every million is $20,000 a week. So that's over $60,000 a week in reimbursement. That's a nice chunk of change. You know? So, but again, the net of this is, if we look at the reporting that you and I have been doing together on both of these two cases, the Las Vegas shooting and then the pandemics, the tridemic, the triple-demic,
they hated that.
Well, they hated that once at one point, then they adopted it, right? So
Right.
that happens. But when we look at these two stories, one of them was the biggest shooting in American history, in modern American history, where the most people were shot and killed.
Yeah.
And the most people probably were shot and wounded, and over 400 people were shot and wounded with gunfire. That's never happened before. And then, just a few years later, we have this global pandemic that shuts the world down. Both cases, we bring forward a counter narrative based on evidence, like you said.
Yeah.
And a week ago, we were reading that at the CIA, 80% of what they do is publicly available stuff from the
Isn't that
public
amazing?
domain. I think it's basically what we do.
Why do we need them?
To do the other 20%, the stuff where, the sneaky stuff.
The
right?
parts we miss. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have Prism. They do, right? So they can, if they want to read the messages between us from last week, they can do that. We can't do that, right? We don't have that luxury. So the question here is, if we look at the performance that you had, that I had, Crowdsource the Truth, your original Jason Goodman
You mean
channel,
video views performance?
Yeah, and subscription performance. You had,
Right.
You were at 119,997 subscribers for about a year and a half. Just shy of 120,000 subscribers. So for some reason, you were unable to break through that glass ceiling. So that seems like that was a setting.
Yeah.
And if we look at the sort of the view counts, again, you and I used to get 1,000 views an hour.
Yeah.
On our videos. 1,000 views an hour.
But look at this engagement too, John. 256 comments. I mean, I'm looking at videos. Barack Obama had a video with the Twitter town hall. Let's just compare this for a second. I'm sorry to jump in, but this is pretty important because this speaks right to exactly what's being exposed right now. So the White House, which I think most people have heard of, probably more people are aware of the White House than Crowdsource the Truth, right? This is the Obama White House. Granted, it's an archived page, but the Obama White House had 945,000 subscribers. They got a video here featuring Barack Obama. He's pretty well known. I think people have heard of him. Do you recognize this dope who's sitting next to him? It's Jack Dorsey. This is the Twitter town hall. 63,000 views in 11 years. You and I haven't even been making videos for 11 years.
And we have videos that have more views than that. So here you have Barack Obama and Jack Dorsey without a beard, right? This is the pre-beard.
Yes.
This is Jack Dorsey PB. PB, they call that.
Dorsey.
Pre-beard.
Yeah.
Right. So before the beard, PB. So Jack Dorsey before the beard with Obama. And it has 60-something thousand views. Now, if you go to the Johnny Hoover channel.
But wait, before we get off of this, 60,000 views, 353 thumbs up, 50 thumbs down. Okay, so now by comparison here, you've got a video only 3 years old, 11,000 views. You've got a fraction of the subscribers. But look at this. Why are so few of the viewers on the Obama White House?
Go sort my list. Go to the videos and sort by view count. Click on videos.
Oh, right. I was just looking at live. If we go to popular, you've got videos here, 229,000 views, 197,000 views.
All right, so click on the first one. Click on the first one and look at how many comments are on that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, people were really engaged in this content. And look at this. Come on. You're telling me Barack Obama at the White House doesn't, with 1 million people subscribe, what are they doing? Are they not watching?
Well, the question I have is, how did we go from a
Yeah.
250,000 views and 3,000 comments to 2,000 views? And it appears, maybe these mechanisms that they had at Twitter, there are similar mechanisms across the industry, and that the industry as a whole has been doing this stuff in conjunction with the FBI. Remember when Zuckerberg kind of shrugged his shoulders with Joe Rogan and was like, yeah, the FBI came to us and said, yeah, be on the lookout. It, might even have something to do with Hunter Biden, So, and he's just like, so what am I supposed to do? But he doesn't tell you the full story. And that's what we're going to take a closer look at tonight, which is just how close, how many people were working at Facebook that used to work at the NSA, that used to work at the CIA, that used to work at the FBI. And that's pretty cool, right? If you worked at the CIA a couple years, right? And then you go get a job at Facebook and you get to decide what's real and what's not real and what stories we're going to let people read about, what stories you're not. Now, the problem is it has an impact both on society and on the individuals, right? So the individuals in this case would be my family, your family, the people that you help support, the people that I support. That's restraint of trade. The fact that they're not allowing our businesses to flourish, and the playing field is tilted a little bit, it seems. The other issue here is that they're not allowing the public to decide. And when we're presenting data that you and I are getting from the CDC and from the WHO, and you're getting a lot of the legal stuff from court stuff, like you go to the court case stuff and you're pulling it right off the docket, right? And when you're getting stuff like this Richard Lowry stuff right from the court docket, it's like, this is evidence, people.
I know.
So we're presenting evidence. The problem is, it flies in the face of two of the biggest national security, and I use these air quotes. I hate air quotes, but they call it national security.
Right.
To me, the price of gasoline is not national security.
Well,
if gasoline goes to $8.50 a gallon, we're not going to get invaded. Venezuela is not going to take over America.
No, wait a minute. I disagree on this point. The price of gasoline affects everything, and it is. Look at what's happening. It's just an increase from, let's say, $2 to $4. It creates inflation through everything.
I'm talking about national security, how I define national security and how the government defines national security. And there's and I think I'm not alone. Meaning, if we look at the story, the narrative that I brought forward regarding the Vegas shooting, some people might say, well, that threatens national security if that was the case. And I think it's just embarrassing. I don't think we're going to be invaded. In fact, when you look at how long
we
it's
already
taken
are.
Russia, well, that's a different topic. So that's a different topic. And and you know what? That's what we were covering right before COVID was Al-Qaeda in America.
Right.
That's what we were covering. And that was the work really that was being done by Phil Haney.
Right.
So he was documenting Al-Qaeda in America. I didn't realize the extent to which it was going on until I understood his work. And that just tied together with the support network that was necessary for these pilots to pull off what they did. So, they define this as national security. And you know about the whole State Secrets Act, right?
Yeah.
And how if they claim this as state secrets, we can't subpoena any of the stuff.
Well, it's even worse than that, because I don't know if you've had a chance to yet look at the article that I put onto medium.com.
Oh, yeah. I read it.
Yeah. So, beyond what you're discussing, they just have these national security letters where the FBI can just send a letter to your internet service provider. A lot of people don't realize this, but they can just send a letter to your internet service provider and say this is a national security issue. And although the national security letter doesn't have the same force and effect that a search warrant properly issued by a court would. When Grassley was yelling at then FBI or former FBI General Counsel Valerie Caproni, he said that only 2 out of several hundred requests were not fulfilled. So it effectively has the same, impact on the phone company as a search warrant. And also we see with Twitter, the FBI obviously cozied up to him and got right in there, was practically running the damn place.
And again, I've said this before, Twitter's 240 characters.
And a picture tells 1,000 words.
Well, I'm more concerned with the long form content that's being suppressed on other platforms than the 240 character snippets that everybody's losing their minds over. So to me, it's like that's the tip of the iceberg. And when we start to investigate further, in fact, why don't we jump to the deck and I'll show the audience a thing or two that hit the news just in the last couple hours or last couple days. And we'll get a better understanding here. So if you go to the deck that I sent you.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't open that as I normally do. That looks like it.
That is it. That's our friend William Colby. And we were talking about him last week. And I guess this show this week, it sort of makes sense to just have him here as a touchstone. Because there's sort of a derivative of this thing that he said that we talked about last week. So last week, we were focusing on how the CIA owns everyone of any significance in the major media is something that he said. And I think that we might be now looking at a new derivative of this, which is the CIA owns and controls every company of significance in social media.
I think it might even go beyond social media, but for today's conversation, we'll keep it to that.
So let's keep it to social media and the sort of the big players in the world of social media. Now, if we go to the next slide in the deck, this is a story from CNN that says that the FBI agents and tech execs have denied that the government ordered Twitter to suppress the Hunter Biden story. So this is, I think Charles might call this the Clinton technique, which is just deny. Yeah. Just deny. Even if they have the emails, just deny that it happened and just say, no, that wasn't what was happening. That's not what we did. That's not what we said, even though we're looking at the emails. So in this story, their response is that this is a conspiracy theory, that this whole thing is a conspiracy thing that's been worked up. So, you just, again, you look at that and you go, but we're reading the emails here. We see what you said. We read what you wrote. The problem is it's not being widely reported. So you don't get to see this unless you read other things on other places. Yeah.
And, I've been talking about it a lot. I want people to be aware that they can still go to medium.com. It's a little difficult to find. It's crowdsourcethetruth.medium.com. And if you follow that, you can read this 5-part expose that I've put together about the Twitter coup. Lots of evidence. And I'm hoping that this is going to get to people of some significance who can do something about it. That's the next issue, John, is knowing is half the battle. Whether or not anybody's going to do anything about this still remains to be seen. And I agree with you completely. The FBI is not going to come out and say, shucks, you caught us. But this is going to be interesting to see what happens next.
And it's not just the FBI. We're going to see that as the show goes on today. It's the NSA, it's the CIA, and there's something like 17 other agencies that most people have never even heard of that are also involved here. Let's jump ahead because this is another twist this week. Tedros is very concerned about China.
What was their disaster?
Coronavirus is going bonkers in China right now. And
but I thought
Japan,
they said they're stopping the lockdowns because she is doing something.
Because, you can only do so much for 3 years in a row. So yes, there's been pressure. There's been pressure to stop all this lockdown stuff. They're stopping the green COVID pass on the phone stuff.
They're not welding people into their apartments anymore.
Not
they
anymore.
Seem to enjoy that.
Not anymore.
Oh.
No, I know, but that we're not talking about fetishes. It's not that kind of show. This is so they're concerned now because the outbreak is crazy in China, and if so, he's saying this isn't good, and some of the forecasts right now are that 1 million people might die in China this year from COVID, and we're going to take a closer look at some of those stories. In fact, on the next slide, you'll see that the World Health Organization is now reporting that over 31,000 people have died in China.
Oh.
And that's not as much as Pennsylvania, but
More than
if you go
5,000.
31,500, and remember, once upon a time, this was kind of locked in at 5,000.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? They were, yeah. And so now they've had in fact, go to the next slide. You'll see cases and deaths on the next slide. There's a chart. And what this is showing is that people are dying in China and they're recording it. And this is what the WHO is reporting.
How many deaths from being welded in the apartment?
I don't know. I think that's on a different map. I'm going to have to check and find out which map that is. But yeah, go one more slide because, this is from U.S. News and World Report. China's COVID-19 infections surge. 37 million infections in one day. This is just a day or two ago.
That seems like a lot.
So just when you thought it was safe to go back to the noodle shop, it's not so safe. Not so safe to go back to the noodle shop. Take a look at the next one. COVID hit Shanghai with crowded hospitals and empty streets. This is this week. What? It's like 3 years later.
But isn't this
now
reminiscent
China?
of what we were seeing in the first place, where they sent us a lot of videos of people convulsing on the subway and everybody was freaking out? It's like China's some kind of incubator for fear.
Indeed.
I don't know.
Indeed. And I did a video on the Johnny Hoover channel called What Happened in Wuhan. And it documents that propaganda. Because at the end of the day, fewer people died in Wuhan than Connecticut. And, Wuhan's a big city, 10, 11 million people. And they had less than 5,000 people die. But it was the story that came out of Wuhan that kind of ground the world to a halt. Even though Beijing had less than 10 dead at the time. And Shanghai had less than 10 dead at the time. So that's where we were, kind of confused as to, why would this be declared a global pandemic if we don't yet have 10 dead in Beijing or Shanghai, and nobody was dead in Vietnam or Cambodia or Laos. So I didn't understand the definitions back then, right? Forgive me.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a dope. When we go to our patron-only show, we're going to take a look at who were the people working at Twitter, working at Facebook, that used to work for the CIA. Who were these people? How long did they work at the CIA? What job did they have at the CIA? And that's what we're going to take a look at when we go patron only.
We've got a very good question here from Joseph, John. He's joining us on YouTube, and he says, here's a metric. If Biden swapped arms dealer Victor Bout, which doesn't sound like a very Russian name, it sounds like a fake name, but Victor Bout, for a WWBA basketball scofflaw, Brittany Griner, where is John Cullen on the national security Richter scale? Well, good news. John Cullen does identify as a lesbian. He's a lesbian trapped in a man's body. It's been something he's struggled with all his life. But
been for years.
Not taking any weed to Russia. That's dumb.
Yeah. No, we don't do that. What I am concerned about, though, and we'll talk about this with our patrons, is how this new Congress is talking about investigating the COVID origins.
Right.
And again, that's like looking at the wrong planets to figure out about the moons of Jupiter. You're not going to find out a whole lot about the moons of Jupiter if you're looking at Neptune. So it's important for all these scientists that you and I have been talking to, and doctors and billionaires, to pull the lens back and understand that there was more going on than what you
we've
were told.
We've got Joe Biden in charge, so it's very likely that they're going to be investigating Uranus and probably nothing else, because Joe Biden is
forward to
just
that
about
investigation.
as stupid as can be. Actually, speaking of which, I forgot to mention earlier, people who did not catch my live stream this morning, I did a video, John, about we've got, what do they call it? An Arctic, what is it? A bomb cyclone happening.
Yeah, I never heard these terms. Where did this term come
before.
from?
It was
when
new.
I left for Thailand, we never had a bomb cyclone. I never heard this term in my life until
Joe
I
Biden,
come back from Asia. What are these crazy terms?
He's using the French method. I don't know if you heard about that French guy who evacuated a Paris hospital by inserting a World War II munition in his anus. But Joe Biden is preparing for the bomb cyclone. Eric Adams was shocked. People can watch this video, but we're going to make our transition now over to the sponsor-exclusive segment on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. People can also catch the sponsor-exclusive content on odyssey.com/ @crowdsourcethetruth. Odyssey is a great option. Stupid Mario Brothers hate it. Luigi's emailing me right now. He doesn't even know how to spell the cop's name that he's trying to get the FOIA stuff for. He's an idiot. Thanks for watching, everybody. Join us on Patreon and Subscribestar. We'll see you in less than 5 minutes.